What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's jump right into the topic of this video. Black Monday has officially concluded for the Raiders, and some huge news has surfaced when it comes to the future of this football team. This morning, our head coach Antonio Pierce let it be known to the media that it looks like he is going to continue as the Raiders head coach for the 2025 regular season. Antonio Pierce was signed to a 2-year contract when he got hired last year, and it looks like Mark Davis is going to let it play out. He's going to give him the full 2 years to see if he can get it right. And I'm not going to lie to you, I am pretty shocked. I am pretty surprised from this. Everything seemed to indicate like the Raiders were going to fire him, that the Raiders were going to move on, especially after what I saw from the press conference yesterday. Antonio Pierce looked very defeated. It looked as though, to me, just based off body language and everything, it seemed like he had a good feeling he was not going to come back. But obviously I was wrong about that. AP will come back in 2025, and I also am a little bit surprised too, just because I personally do not feel like Mark Davis has a whole lot of confidence in Antonio Pierce. So I thought, just given how bad the season was, a 4-13 record, you went 0-6 in the AFC West division. The last time that happened was nearly 20 years ago, and when that happened, we had Art Shell as a head coach, and he got fired after that season. At one point in the season, we went on a 10-game losing streak as well, and we got multiple different losses by 10 or more points. But ultimately, I will say, I think, it is fair to give Antonio Pierce one more season. Ideally, you don't want to see a head coach only get 1 year. I mean, more times than not, a head coach gets at least 2 seasons to kind of see what he has, to fully assess what he brings to the table. It's not very often you get a one-and-done coach. I mean, we did see it with the Patriots yesterday, though, where they fired their first-year head coach, Gerard Mayo. So at least Mark Davis is improving a little bit when it comes to the stability-wise of the franchise. He is giving Antonio Pierce another shot. And to me, it is fair to mention the fact that this season there was a lot of unfortunate things that happened, a lot of things that went against our way. We had a lot of injuries to key starters on the defensive side of the football. We did not really address the quarterback situation. We made the wrong move to hire our offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. The offensive line struggled big time, especially early on in the season. We had no run game. So it was just a bad season overall. So you can definitely make the argument that, it's not really fair to judge Antonio Pierce's performance based off of last season and simply fire him after that. He deserves one more shot. And look, I'm okay with it. And also another factor that I think we definitely got to consider is the fact that I also just think that the coaching landscape isn't looking ideal right now as well, because if you would have fired Antonio Pierce as well, one thing that you got to understand is there's not, a great coaching candidate out there. I mean, especially too, there's no coaching candidates that, are for sure that are going to come to the Raiders. Mike Vrabel looks like he's going to go to the Patriots. Really, our only hope was to try to potentially get like a Ben Johnson, like a young up-and-coming offensive coordinator, but at the same time, there's no guarantee that one of those coordinators would come to the Raiders. They may go to different destinations, so that may have factored into this as well. It's not a situation like last season where there was a really good option in Jim Harbaugh. That's not really the case for the Raiders this season. So, ultimately, Antonio Pierce is going to get one more season. And to me, it is going to be a make or break season for him. He's going to have to find a way to change this thing around. We cannot afford to continue to be such a bad football team. He has to get some wins on the board, and it's definitely going to start with the quarterback position. The Raiders are going to have to address this position in some way. I think you're going to have to draft a young quarterback. Now, he's not going to be the savior of the franchise, but at the very least, if you can at least bring some young player in here, if we can see whether or not he could be the future of this franchise. And in the offseason, we're really going to have to concentrate on bulking up the offensive line, specifically in the interior. We're going to have to address the running back spot. We could definitely use another linebacker or two. And we are going to have to fix the defense because This defense, prior to the season, I think we all had a lot of high expectations for this defense, and that really didn't come into fruition. I mean, part of that was definitely the injuries, but it definitely was other things as well. At times, it didn't look like we were coached well. So Antonio Peterson is going to be a huge offseason for him, and I will say I am happy for AP that he gets another shot, but at the same time I'm not super confident that he's going to be able to turn this thing around. He still has a lot of things that he's going to have to work at. I mean, we all knew he was a first-year head coach and that there was going to be a bit of a learning curve, but there's a lot of things that I feel like even to this day he still hasn't fixed. He hasn't really improved, so that's something he's going to have to definitely fix. And another big question mark is going to be the coaching staff. What are we going to do? I mean, Antonio Pierce indicated that it looks like as of now there's not going to be any more coaching changes to the staff. But to me, that could definitely change, because one thing that we're going to have to figure out is who's going to be defensive coordinator next season, because Patrick Graham's contract is due. His contract expires. I don't know exactly when, but this was his last season that he was under contract. So we're going to have to figure out if he's going to come back, if we're going to be able to sign an extension, or if we're going to go in a different direction on the defensive side of the football. So AP is going to have to get that coaching decision right. He's going to have to fill out this coaching staff. Also, when it comes to our offensive coordinator, is Antonio Pierce going to risk it and just roll with a Scott Turner? Or is he going to try to go outside of the franchise and try to hire a new offensive coordinator? Ultimately, we'll just have to see what happens, but I think this is going to be super important, because the thing with Antonio Pierce is he's more of a player's coach. He's more of that CEO type of coach, just like a leader. He doesn't call plays on offense or on defense, so he is really going to have to rely on a good coaching staff for this team to be able to succeed. He's going to have a good offensive coordinator. So I think it's going to be super important to see what he does with the coaching staff, who he brings in, or does he just roll these main guys into next season? We'll just have to see what happens. I mean, if he chooses to go outside of the franchise, one potential guy that maybe you could consider at the offensive coordinator position could be Doug Peterson, who was fired by the Jacksonville Jaguars as their head coach. So maybe they could hire him as an offensive coordinator. He's a guy that has a solid track record in the NFL when it comes to calling offenses. He comes from that Andy Reid, Mike Holmgren coaching tree with the West Coast offense. So I think he's a guy you should definitely consider. And ultimately, the offensive coordinator, whoever it's going to be, we are going to have to nail this, since AP's not an offensive guy. And especially with us more than likely being poised to draft a young quarterback, you're going to need a good coach that can help the development of a young rookie quarterback. And also Aiden O'Connell as well. He also is a young quarterback as well. So you need a good scheme. You need a good offensive-minded coordinator that can help the development of these quarterbacks. But AP will stick around. Now, I will say there's a lot of things that he's definitely going to have to improve in 2025. You know, a couple things that I noticed throughout the season was there's a lot of just questionable decisions that he made during the season that he's going to have to fix. A couple different examples on fourth down in the season opener against the Chargers, where he chose to punt it on a 4th-and-1 situation at the Chargers' 43-yard line. That was a bad call in my opinion. The analytics heavily favored going for it in that scenario, and he punted the football, and ultimately that gamble did not work out for him. Also, when it comes to clock management, when it comes to challenges as well, there's been times where he's throwing the red challenge flags on plays that to me were just super simple and super obvious that they weren't going to go your way. Just little things like that is very tough, especially in the division we're in with the Harbaugh, with the Andy Reid, and with the Sean Payton. So AP's going to have to improve big time next season if he wants to stick around for an extended period of time. But Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys agree with the decision to keep Antonio Pierce as the head coach? Were you surprised? Are you happy about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that's all for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.